Coming to you from the Texoma area, I'm your host, Cody.
I'm your host, Garrett.
And we are the Bourbon Nerds. Well, here we are again. Nice to see everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. This is, we're actually recording on Black Friday, right? While all you people are recovering from your turkey comas, your desserts, and
your shopping addictions,
borderline diabetes. We're here to bring you in our second edition, our second episode. This episode is going to be called "What is Bourbon?"
What is bourbon, Cody?
Well, we're going to get to that in a second. So, for our first segment, from barrel to brain.
From barrel to brain.
What do you got in your glass there, Garrett?
So what is in my glass is old Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary Wild Turkey 101, aged 8 years. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. What is that? What you're sipping on there?
Yeah, that is what I'm sipping on, and it is fantastic.
Like, I can't even explain how much better this is than the regular Wild Turkey 101, and I just hope this becomes a regular thing so we don't even have to worry about, it's a good budget, but the extra $20 or so is just so worth it. You get so many flavors. It's just like Wild Turkey 101 just souped up on steroids.
Absolutely. And we also have a second glass that we're sipping, we'll be sipping on, which is the Wild Turkey Rare Breed. But this special little guy is a travel exclusive. You actually have to be traveling outside of the United States.
Which Cody does a lot of, by the way.
Yeah, if you don't know me, I travel a lot. And when I mean a lot, I mean a lot. So I go outside of the country quite a bit for my job.
Must be a rough job.
It's terrible. No, I have a great job, great boss. Really excited, very blessed. I work with some amazing people all over the world. It's phenomenal. But Wild Turkey Rare Breed is a barrel proof, non-chill filtered, which is different than the regular. And we'll talk about that. I hope that term is on the little term sheet. But it's 58.4% alcohol by volume, which equals 116.8 proof. This is actually a 1 liter bottle. But I think it's a lot better than the regular Rare Breed. I don't know. What do you think, Garrett?
I haven't got into it yet. I can't remember if I tried it over Aaron's or not. I think I did. But and the thing between chill filtration and non-chill filtration, which most bourbons are non-chill filtered. I don't know why Rare Breed does it, but that so whenever you do that, whenever you do the chill filtration, it kind of gets rid of that oiliness of the bourbon. And I don't know, I think that's kind of a good part of the bourbon. That's why I don't understand why Rare Breed does that.
Yeah, it's like taking the white cream out of a Twinkie.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, Rare Breed is still very good. It's very good. We can call it a budget. Not really a budget. I guess it's more of like a beginner's kind of bourbon. It's good to kind of get into like your higher proof bourbons, not so much budget. I mean, it's like $60.
Yeah, it's a $50-$60. I mean, I guess we need to redefine our expectations on what is a budget bourbon. Bourbon has gone up year after year. I will say the secondary market has cooled off, which is very nice for all you bourbon runners and gunners trying to flip it all across the United States, keeping us small folks down here from getting delicious bottles like Russell's 15 and George T. Stagg and all those. And again, we're not going to talk about allocated bottles all the time, but yeah, I think it's it does have a creamy mouthfeel, especially when you compare it to the regular barrel proof. So, but enough of that. Let's drop some knowledge on us about Wild Turkey, Garrett.
Yeah, so we chose Wild Turkey because obviously Turkey Day just happened, so we thought, why not go over one of the greatest distillers of all time in the Hall of Fame. Gobble, gobble. So, Wild Turkey, you can find that in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. The term Wild Turkey, which I thought this was really cool, comes from a group of friends who were giving a sample of the whiskey while turkey hunting. They liked the flavor so much that they asked for more Wild Turkey whiskey, in quotations, on future occasions. What's really cool is, so Jimmy Russell actually joined in 1954, which I explained earlier that this is a 70th anniversary. Jimmy Russell still works there. He's been working there for 70 years. Like, just process that this guy has had this job for 70 years where he's just got to drink delicious bourbon and make some of the best stuff out there.
Yeah, I was just going to tag on to that. Like, outstanding. And yes, we are turkey guys. So
Gobble gobble.
gobble gobble. But I mean, they're making some delicious products. Even Wild Turkey 101, I remember real quick, I'm going to go down a memory lane because this is what we do on the podcast. So I was in Croatia on a trip with one of my English buddy. We did a little Europe trip, and I got a Wild Turkey, and because it was cheap. They didn't really have a whole lot of selection, and I hadn't had Wild Turkey 101. And, at that point, still, learning more about bourbon. There's so many different bourbons. And we were drinking, we're like, I just remember sitting out at that because we were staying in a really nice hotel. Not trying to brag or anything, but it was like the one we splurged on a 5-star hotel during that trip, and we were sitting on the patio out. The place I probably wasn't even supposed to be out there, and we looked at each other and we're like, dude, this is pretty good bourbon. So they have a lot of good, and if you're lucky enough, and I'm out there, if anyone can help me get a Russell's 15, I would be indebted to you forever because I still have not been able to get one. I'm hoping with some of the drops and specs and all that stuff that's coming up that I'll have the opportunity to purchase one. Unfortunately, we killed Garrett's bottle of Russell's 15. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. It was so hard not to though. Like it's so good.
Can you cue the Sarah McLachlan song? Because that's what I hear in my head right now.
Is it the one where they play?
I remember you.
Oh, I was thinking of the arms of the
Oh, you could play either.
It's like they show the sad dog.
Yeah,
he's like, God dang it.
I know. I've got tears running down my face right now. So I'll let you get back on the history turkey train.
Yeah. So he became master distiller in 1967. So only 13 years after him being there. He is known as the Buddha of bourbon, which is an interesting title to hold. His son Eddie became a master distiller in 2015, and they're the only father-son duo to hold those titles. So I thought that was also really cool. I believe there's another son or a brother. I always see that there's like 3 of them trying to blend stuff. I wish I would have wrote that down. They were actually founded in 1869 by the Ripey brothers. It's R-I-P-Y. I'm sorry. I don't know how that's pronounced. I probably butchered that. One other last thing I have on Wild Turkey, which I thought was really cool, is Matthew McConaughey was hired in 2016 as creative director.
All right.
So he became the creative director, and the whiskey brand reportedly approached him to be a spokesperson to help attract more women and international audiences. He had bigger ideas, though. He said, hey, why not be more than just the face? And so him and Wild Turkey launched Long Branch Bourbon in 2018, and it's ranks among Vine Pair's best celebrity spirits in 2019. I personally haven't had it, so I don't know if it's any good. Have you ever had it?
No, I actually haven't had the Long Branch. I think I've had just about everything. I have a bottle of Single Rick House, but I have not had it yet. We probably should pop that one open.
I bet it's very good.
I bet it's delicious. It was very expensive. So yeah, that's one we probably need to try.
Yeah, I've heard that it's like one of the better of these celebrity brands. It's probably because, McConaughey is actually a spokesperson, and he probably actually puts a little effort. Like it says that he launched 2 digital series, Talk Turkey and The Spirit of Conviction, on their social media and YouTube channels. So, I mean, I don't know a celebrity putting that much effort into, working with a distillery. So it actually seems like he's invested. And then one last thing about McConaughey is he launched a whiskey-themed cabin rental in Australia that can be booked for about $150 a night. He says he chose the location because he loves nature, but we know the truth. Australia is Wild Turkey's second biggest market. So, fun little facts there. Obviously, there's a lot more history to Wild Turkey, but those are just some quick hitters to kind of get to know them and, what they do and who they are. We're going to go into a little bit of what is a bourbon and the little history of bourbon, but I actually have some terms I'd like to go over before Cody starts spilling the beans on the whole history of bourbon. So get ready for a good 3-hour conversation. No, I'm just kidding. We're only going to do a little bit. Quick hitters today.
Yeah, buckle your seatbelt, grab your leather-bound books that smell of sweet mahogany, because we're going to take you on a journey.
Okay, so just some quick little common terms related to bourbon. So, single barrel is a precise type of small batch bourbon that comes from a single barrel. Tasters usually select exceptional barrels from the warehouse. Obviously, when they do store picks and things like that, that's the liquor stores trying and selecting their own single barrels that they want to release to put their stickers on. Sour mash is a bourbon made from pre-existing mash, which gives it a distinct, often sweeter flavor. Bottled in bond, which we're going to have a whole episode on later on, is a whiskey that was produced with integrity, no additives, and a clear chain of custody. Now, bottled in bond is interesting because it has to be 4 years old. It has to be bottled or distilled in the same season.
Correct.
I wish I had my bottled and bond facts in front of me. Like I said, we're going to go more into that later, but the basically with bottled and bond is it's going to be good, and that's why that was created, so that way, basically a government agency was looking over that, and so that way it was actually bourbon and it's actually a good product.
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 years, government regulated. It has to meet all the specifications for that. So, we'll talk, like you said, a lot more about that. That's what I'm mind blown about how much I've learned. I thought I knew a lot about bourbon, but really, just this for this episode alone, just doing hours of research, and I've got more dates and statistics in my head. But we would sit here and talk for days about the history. It's so rich, and if there's specific topics that you would want us to highlight, we would really love to hear your feedback and comments. So let us know as we cover. I'm going to go over some key points here in a little bit once Garrett gets done dropping some knowledge. But yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's very interesting. I'll say that a lot of history tied to bourbon in our nation.
And if you come away from anything from our podcast, it's hopefully you at least learn something new that you didn't know before, and you're like, oh, that was pretty interesting, and at least get some entertainment from it.
Yeah, I hope we're entertaining and you learn. If you learn and you're entertained, then by God, we won.
So, and back to the bottle and bond real quick. If you're ever in the liquor store and you're not really sure, and you're between a couple bottles, if one of them is a bottle and bond, just give it a chance, because I don't think I've had a bottle and bond that I haven't liked, because you at least know it's a good product. A couple other definitions here. Small batch is a bourbon that is blended from a selection of several barrels, but is neither single barrel nor vatted. Straight bourbon is a bourbon that is aged at least 2 years and must indicate its age unless it's at least 4 years old. Mash bill is the combination of grains used to make bourbon. So when you see it, and it says like 72% corn, 15% malted barley, and 3% rye, that's the mash bill of the bourbon that they used to make that bourbon. Wheated bourbon is a bourbon made with wheat as a secondary flavor grain instead of rye. The angel share, which is really interesting, is it's the portion of bourbon that evaporates while aging in the barrels. So when you go into like a rick house and you see kind of the liquid on the outside of the barrels, like that's the angel share. So, and then barrel proof is bourbon that is bottled straight from the barrel without being diluted with water. The nose is the aroma. When we say palate, we're talking about the taste. Finish is the aftertaste and the lingering flavors. Yeah, so those are kind of just some basic terms. Hopefully, whenever we're talking about this stuff, that kind of helps you understand what some of this means. Other than that, Cody's got some history that he's going to go over.
Yeah, and just before you move on, like we're talking about the palate, and everyone. I just want to hit a key point. Everyone has a different palate, so we can sit up here and say you'll like this bourbon, you'll like that bourbon. We honestly don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that have similar palates. Someone that I gravitate towards is Jason C. from Mash and Drum. I think he's awesome. I think our palates are pretty closely aligned on a lot of things, on flavors and stuff that we like. So, find someone that you can kind of see a trend and see what they like before you go out and buy a bottle. That's what we hope to do for you guys as well, is to try something, taste something new. Hopefully, one of the day we keep growing this podcast, we'll get some sponsors and we can save you some money. I mean, I think that's what's important, saving money, especially in this economy. So it's good. All right. Well, I'm going to go over a little bit of history. So I hope you guys are ready and not asleep yet. So,
The history of bourbon.
7 years ago, our grandfathers made bourbon.
4 years ago, I put this bourbon in a barrel and it's ready to come out.
Anyway, so I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot. I mean, we can go down to the 1500s. The European settlers, really brought the distilling process. It's something that was kind of happening already. They thought, the Scottish or Scot-Irish settlers in the late 1800s or 18th century, excuse me, tongue twister there. Brought that Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and then brought that to Kentucky. Bourbon County was established in Kentucky in 1785. So the word bourbon comes from a French royal family. So, and there's also some language in there that it could be a French gesture of gratitude. So, since the French did bail us out in the American Revolution, if you guys remember, we were backed up. The English were starting to take over, and then when the cavalry came in, the French.
So we thanked them by naming our drink after them.
Yeah, and French fry. No, so
French
the
fried
name.
taters.
Yeah, so the name Bourbon may come from Bourbon County, which is named after. Again, I talked about the French royal family. Let me repeat ourselves. There's a lot of controversy around Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig is often credited with inventing bourbon. He's known as the father of bourbon in some cases. There's a story about him, which we should do an Elijah Craig episode, just because.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to do an episode for each distillery.
Yeah, absolutely. That he accidentally charred his whiskey barrels in a fire, which gave a distinctive flavor and color. I don't really know how much I believe that, because they were already charring barrels to make cognac. That was a French technique. So. But there is a story for that, and we'll do some research on it, and we can talk about it when we do that. And then the Whiskey Rebellion, which is pretty interesting. There was a distilled spirits tax that was instilled in Alexander Hamilton, are you familiar with him? He's on the, I think, $20 bill.
Oh, yeah, I know that homie.
Yeah, that homie came up with this tax, and it really pissed off farmers. Because basically, and I'm not going to go into extreme detail, but it basically did not favor the farmers.
He also created a play, right? In the Hamilton?
Yeah. That was a good one. So the Whiskey Rebellion in 1794 was an uprising about the 1791 whiskey excise tax that was put in place by Alexander Hamilton. And then one of my favorite presidents of all time, Thomas Jefferson, actually repealed that tax.
The $2 bill.
The $2.
Just came down just a little bit from Mr. Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, just a hair.
Although $2 bills are harder to get, like they don't really use that currency. So
I know.
I mean, you could say that it's actually a rarer bill.
Yeah, absolutely. That was repealed in 1802, and then 1803. Guess what happened there? Mr. Jefferson made the United States pretty large with the Louisiana Purchase. We're not talking about that, but it does have some history kind of correlated to all that stuff. Then the legal well, we can talk a little bit about Prohibition, which occurred from 1919 to 1933, which had a severe impact on whiskey and bourbon. Actually, during that time, you could not drink bourbon or get bourbon unless you had a prescription from a doctor.
And just so happens that there was one or two out there who had a license
to
that
distribute.
Maybe not necessarily a doctor, and they were like, here's some bourbon whiskey.
Yep.
And that's why Old Forester has the Prohibition blend or whatever they call it. They have the Prohibition.
And you're not a fan of 1920, which
I think is, I think that's the Prohibition one. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. And
I like it.
Maybe because it tastes like medicine. I don't know.
1920 is a little higher proof. 1910 is like a dessert in a glass, but we'll save that for a later day. And then they identified the legal definition in 1909. A law was passed that really provided the definition of bourbon. Bourbon's legal requirement must be aged in a new chart oak container, all that kind of stuff, which legally, you look at 1960, I think was the when it was recognized by Congress, and then you get kind of the 5 rules of bourbon. So you have to be 51% corn.
Yep.
So if you get a rye whiskey, it is not 51% corn.
A lot of those are 100% rye.
Yeah, or like 90, what is it, 95.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are MGP, little MGP action, which is not Kentucky. And you do not have to bourbon does not have to come from Kentucky. Let's be
Although there are some, like I was watching a Bruzel video. He's a
Yeah.
YouTuber. He's one of the guys I really like watching, but he was in New York doing a hunt and they're like, no, it has to be from Kentucky. And he's just like, all right, man, I'm not going to argue with you. So there are still
Yeah.
people out there who believe that it has to come from Kentucky to be a bourbon, which it doesn't. There's some very tasty bourbons that are from other parts of the world, California,
Absolutely.
Indiana, like all over.
Yeah, Colorado's got some stuff too. Boulder actually has a cast strength that's supposed to be
Isn't
delicious.
Frey Ranch is from Idaho?
No, it's Nevada.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Well, Smoke Wagon is also from Nevada, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that's their own stuff. That might be MGP. But,
Yeah, that might be something that they source.
Ben Holiday's in Missouri. That's really
Yeah.
good stuff.
Ben Holiday's pretty good.
I was going to say Bardstown, but that's in Kentucky.
You what is the one? The Iron Giant or the Green Giant?
Oh, the Redwood Empire. Yeah, I
Redwood
said
Empire is
California earlier.
Yeah, I figured that's what you're referring to.
I love Redwood Empire. That's a good, and the Pipe Dream and the Emerald Giant, like those are all really good budget bourbons to get into. My friend Clint, when he asked me for a suggestion, I told him that, and it's one of his favorite bourbons. He loves it. It's really good stuff. And I tried the cast strength. It's very good. Yeah, they're releasing a lot of interesting stuff these days. So I'm really excited to see what they come out with next.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things that happened during Prohibition. Gin almost took over the market. It was being made. A lot of blended whiskeys got popular after it was, after the repeal in 1933. So, which was on 12/5/1933.
Which makes sense because gin and vodka and those kind of things are just really easy to make, and so I'm sure just that's a good way to keep your business going while you're in Prohibition.
Yeah, and bourbon's had to overcome quite a bit, like the Prohibition, which almost wiped it out, and then also too in 1941 and World War II started up. The war production board took over distilleries. They made them stop making bourbon, and they started making like for fuel. I think it was like a barrel of fuel could make like 41 grenades and took so many barrels. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. So you had two different, distinctive moments in history that are extremely important and where our country has been and where we're at today that could have really just destroyed the entire market. And then 1960, like I said, what is a bourbon? Bourbon is a mash bill. It has to be a 51% corn. The distillation is no higher than 160 proof. It has to be aged in new char oaked barrels. The entry proof, no more than 125 proof when put into the barrel. And then bottling is no less than 80 proof. So, and the charred new oak containers or barrels are really important. So, and then in 1960, again, the United States Congress passed to declare that a distinctive product of the United States, which is one of the probably the most definitive moment in bourbon history that it was declared. And you cannot get bourbon anywhere else outside of the United States.
I mean, you can get it.
Yeah, or export it, but it's not. If you make it, it's not bourbon.
Yeah, like in Scotland, you have Scotch. Japan does a lot of really good Japanese things. I mean, everywhere has their own things that they do, but it is cool to know that you can only make bourbon in the United States.
So all bourbon's whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Exactly.
You've heard that. So. All right. Well, that'll kind of wrap it up for a little history lesson.
I think this is a good time to transition into our nerd rage.
Nerd rage.
It's our next segment. Talk about nerdy things and all things nerd. Today, I Cody talked a little bit about gaming last time. I just wanted to talk about what I think is really nerdy. So me and my wife a few years ago got married at Hogwarts Castle, which is at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. We love going to Orlando. We go there for Universal Studios and we go there for Disney. But it's really cool. Like Cody, you said you're a pretty big fan of Harry Potter, correct? Or your
fiance's a fan. She got offended when she listened to the podcast. And I'm like, you love Harry Potter. Don't even act like you don't love Harry Potter. And I do. I like Harry Potter, too.
Oh, she got offended that you said that she liked Harry Potter?
Well, she's like, I don't like it that, like I over-exaggerated her.
Oh.
If you're in a relationship and you just get beat up all the time. No, I'm just joking. Not beat up. But you know,
There is a call. There's a number out there.
Yeah,
for
there's
you.
a number out there. We'll find it and send it to you. No, I love my fiance. She's amazing, beautiful. I'm very blessed to have her in my life, and my daughter as well, which is her birthday's coming up next month. Yay.
Hers in January or December?
December 20th.
Mine's in January, so
Yeah,
mine's
your birthday's coming up
also.
too. Man, we got lots of stuff to celebrate.
Fun fact, I actually figured out. So my birthday's January 4th. Nicolas Cage, who is my all-time favorite actor, his birthday's January 7th. So we were this close to having the same birthday.
You should legally change your birthday so it could be on January 7th.
He'll be like, "Mom, you couldn't wait 3 more days."
Yeah. You could have. That would have been good. Nicolas Cage, God, we are. If you want to hear, well, I want you guys to tell us a Nicolas Cage podcast where it's all Nicolas Cage related stuff. We will make it fun, and we will still talk about bourbon.
It's gonna happen anyway.
I have no
it's
choice.
happening. I don't care what you guys think. I love Nicolas Cage that much.
We got stalker alert over here on with Nicolas Cage. So,
But going back to Hogwarts, so we got married in front of the Hogwarts castle, which was great. It's a whole great experience. We had a photographer there, and we got to take some really cool nerdy pictures with our wands. And they asked us what we thought our Patronus would be, and she added that in. And it was just a really great experience. I love Universal Studios. It has a lot of really cool things other than just Harry Potter, but they're actually adding on more parks, and so we're going to go back next year and check those out. I think one's like Universal Monsters, one is another part of Harry Potter, which is the Ministry of Magic, I believe. But no one's a bigger fan than my wife. She still reads all the books back to back to back. Like her, whenever you get on and look at her Snapchat, she almost every other night she's posting about being in a new chapter, and I think she could watch those all the time. That and Supernatural is all she really needs, and she'll be happy in life.
that's a good show.
It is a good show. I did watch the whole show. The original showrunner of that only planned to go for, I believe it was 5 seasons. Whatever season that they close up the gates of hell, and Castiel says ass butt. that was supposed to be the end, and that because that's what the original showrunner planned for. And so after that, there's some hit or miss parts, and you can kind of tell that it took them a while to kind of find their groove. But there are some really good, still some really good seasons after that. And I think they kind of finally found their groove, and it's still very entertaining, especially so my wife will love this. The crossover with Scooby-Doo episode was probably one of the best crossover episodes in all of television.
Ruh-roh, Reggie.
Ruh-roh. He's like, "Look, this time I got a sandwich in my mouth." He gets the whole sandwich in his mouth. But yeah, we also love to go to Disney and stuff. The last time we went to Disney, I got to make lightsabers, which is all really cool experience. If you ever go to Disney, you need to do it ahead of time, but you get to make lightsabers. They have the whole big event where you put it in there, and you get to make your make the saber custom how you want it. And so, yeah, that's really cool. I would highly recommend anyone go. They're really fun destinations.
Yeah, making lightsabers, and I've always wanted to do this on like a pod or radio. Luke, I am your father.
Dun, 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 dun. I will say, Darth Vader is one of my favorite characters of all time.
Absolutely. I mean, he's one of the greatest villains ever. We need to have that's
a Star Wars.
Well,
you know what Star Wars Day is?
I have no idea. Oh yeah, May
the
the 4th be with you.
So
of course, absolutely.
Maybe potentially in May we might have a Star
that's a long
Wars
time.
Day.
Hopefully, we're still doing this. You guys are still tuning in. You guys are still providing us support. Please share, like, comment, all of that stuff that you get taught. You constantly get asked by anything you watch on YouTube or anything else. But it does help. It does go a long way. I saw a lot of people. I was pretty excited. We saw people in multiple countries. I think I reached out to my Barbados family. Respect. Got some good friends there. My Colombian friends. I need to hit up my DR buddies and some of my other St. Lucia guys that I know. So again, I do travel a lot for work. So, I wrote some things. It's funny because I shared, I was going to do a travel blog, and I honestly probably should still do it. I wrote some, when I did the Europe trip I was talking about earlier, I wrote every country that I'll have to maybe post that on one of our pods or something in comments so you guys can see and read it and see what you think. but I'm a foodie. We didn't really do, our first episode. We didn't really do the best job of kind of explaining ourselves and what we're about.
Yeah, it was an introduction episode that we didn't really introduce
Yeah,
ourselves that well.
We didn't really introduce ourselves. I like to cook. I like long walks on the beach. No, but I do, I love bourbon. You guys know that. You know that I have a family. I work hard. All that fun stuff. Making lightsabers sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it is very fun, and now they just sit on our like coffee table, or actually, it's the table that my TV and PlayStation and stuff sits on. But I have mine, and she has hers. Hers is really cool. It's like a I don't remember what they described it as, but hers is like very nature, and so it has like this tooth looking thing on the end of it, and it's like brown, and then mine's like black and metal, like I'm a Darth Vader fan. And
no, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, not at all. But so then you can go and buy Kyber crystals, and I think you can get green, blue, or red, and then I think one out of every 100 there's a black one, which I wasn't lucky enough to get, but I know that they are out there. But
hold on, we're not done yet. I was going to talk. I have a Call of Duty update.
Oh yeah, well that's what I was about to say. I was like, I think Cody had a Call of Duty update.
I do. I actually, because I told you guys I would. I downloaded the game. It's on sale right now for if you're a PS5 owner. Apparently, Xbox, if you have that Game Pass or whatever, you get it for free, which I was pretty upset about because my brother was bragging that he got it for free. But I played some zombies like I said I was going to do. I actually had a lot of fun. Warzone, still getting used to it. It's definitely a different game, like I said in the last pod, but it's a pretty good game. I definitely would give it. I played several different modes, the gun mode, the multiplayer. Nuketown is the most frustrating thing ever. I died probably 700 times, but
it's a pretty small little map though. If it's like the old one,
it is. And I don't know what guns they're using, but I died, and it was frustrating. But Call of Duty is a very frustrating game. If we talk about earlier playing games and relaxing, I don't know if I can relax. It is still a lot of fun. So do recommend, do give it a thumbs up. So if you want to get it before, I think it expires on 12/2 if you have a PS5, but it's on a Black Friday special. So download it, enjoy it. I think it may be one of the better Call of Duties they've had in a while. I haven't bought one the last few times. Read a bunch of reviews and stuff, but this one's one of the highest rated ones that's been out there. So highly recommend. Enjoy. Again, if you want to team up and play some Warzone or some Call of Duty, you could direct message me or let me know, and we'll get the band back together.
So what's your gamer tag?
It's funny, College Stud 23. Actually,
College
that
Stud
did not
23.
age very well. Yes, I had that since a long time. But my gamer tag on Call of Duty is Mills Kills 23. So
what is which Black Ops is this?
Black Ops 6.
Why do they keep coming back to Black? Why can't they just do like new names? Like what is it with the Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3? Like
well, there's different companies that make Call of Duty. So I think Treyarch is the one that does Black Ops. If I'm not,
it's not Activision anymore.
No, well they do. Activision and Treyarch, or they kind of rotate on who makes Call of Duty. So it's just kind of like Black Ops builds off the story. So.
I haven't played since like the Black Ops 2 days, so I haven't been in Call of Duty for a while. So
yeah, you haven't, man. You're out of the mix.
Well, I just got tired of like you get the game on release day, and you're really excited about it, and you're like, man, I can't wait. And then you get in there, and there's so many people who got the pre-release, or they got early access, and they're already like 20 levels higher than you. They're killing you in like one shot, and it just gets really frustrating. It's like I'm just so behind everybody else, and so then it just becomes discouraging. I'm like, nah, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, but Call of Duty you can catch up pretty quickly. I think what's frustrating is like you get excited about this game that's it's supposed to be game of the year, or the most excited game you look for, because I mean realistically I don't have a lot of time to game, to be fair. Number one, and number two is there wasn't a lot of variation between each Call of Duties, and some of them were worse. So it was like a game you're going to spend $60-$70 of your hard-earned money, and then it's the same game basically with different graphics or worse mechanics. So again, Black Ops 6, I do give it a recommend. I have enjoyed playing it so far. Yes, it is frustrating, but nonetheless, there's a lot of modes. Zombies, a lot of fun, and yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. So
Cool. Well, I think that's a good transition to the next segment, which is our sports segment. We're calling this the Whiskey Sideline. I'm kind of happy with the name. I think I think it's pretty good. We came up with names for all our segments, and this is the first time we're kind of introducing them. So, if you guys have any other suggestions, or if you just straight up hate the name, you can let us know. We'll listen to your suggestions. But what I wanted to talk about a little bit is the Thanksgiving games. So the first game we had was the Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my! And so the first half was very uneventful, and it just looked like another Lions route. And I think the Bears had a total of like 20 yards or something ridiculous, and it just looked horrible. But then in the second half, they just like came out of nowhere and led this furious comeback. And then you get to the last 40-something seconds of the game, and I think they're like on the 33-yard line or something like that in field goal range with timeouts, or a timeout, I believe. And then next thing you know, they're at the almost 50-yard line, and Caleb Williams is chunking the ball towards the end zone, and you're like, what just happened? Like, how did that happen? And it was obviously a huge mess up, because one, you about to be debatably the best team in the NFL, and then two, their coach got fired. So obviously that was a huge mistake.
yeah, so this is near and dear to my heart because one, Caleb Williams is going to be a good quarterback. I do not like Caleb Williams. I'll go on record of that. I loved watching OU beat USC when he played for that. And I don't even root for OU, but I root for OU in that game. Again, I'm an Oklahoma State fan. I talked about that, and I do not want to talk about Oklahoma State football this year. Colorado beat the brakes off of them. That they should have stopped the game. But coaching's about player development, and he's a new quarterback, and he's got a lot of weapons and yes, he's making mistakes and he's cocky as heck, but excuse me. But that is the best thing that ever could happen to the Bears. Their coach getting fired. And I didn't realize, I know Detroit. First off, I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb, which is not my Super Bowl predictions right now are the Chiefs in Detroit. I've been saying that for a month now. So
I'm open for the Bills in Detroit personally.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, anyone but the Chiefs, to be fair, but I believe that the luckiest team in the NFL. Did you realize, do you know the record of the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, it's
11-1.
11-1.
They've lost one game. I thought for some reason they lost 2 or 3. I was looking at the record, doing some stats. I do play fantasy football. Actually, Garrett and I are huge fantasy football guys. I'm in 5 leagues this year. I do not recommend doing 5. We know people that are in like 100.
Yeah, I don't know how you keep up with it at that point, because you're just trying to make so many moves, and I don't even know how you get your waivers in time or try to get your lineup set. But like, especially if there's like an 8:30 a.m. game, like it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's tough. I think 3 leagues is like the ideal amount. I'm in, a dynasty league too as well, which has individual defensive players. So, but if you want us to talk a little bit more about fantasy, I do a lot of research on fantasy. I do take it very serious. I won 2 leagues last year. Ooh, look at me.
I won 3. I got
you?
second and another one.
Oh wow, look at you.
I'm doing pretty good this year. I've made some good moves. Like, somehow I ended up with like this insane team with like Brock Bowers and CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill and Bijan and Josh Jacobs. Like, you would think it's like a 6-person league, but it's just because my league mates are just dumb.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they want Garrett to win. You won last year, right?
Yeah, the same league. Like, last year I ended up with AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. I'm like, these guys are just giving me these players, and I don't know why.
Yeah, so I don't trade much in fantasy, and for whatever reason, this league is all like they just want to trade.
Thank you for Patrick Mahomes, by the way.
Yeah, I
hope you're enjoying Quentin Johnson.
Hey, I have Bo Nix. I'm okay.
Oh, speaking of Bo Nix, I was gonna say, realistically, my favorite Super Bowl matchup would be the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans.
Okay, I could go for that.
I mean,
would be very happy for
that. That would be great, and then we could cuss each other at the bar and stuff.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Go Bo Nix. I hope Bo Nix gets Rookie of the Year. I know Jaden McDaniels is a clear favorite right now.
But he's had a
He's
couple
some rough games.
He's had a couple rough games, but then
Yeah.
he like comes on strong late. Like I don't know, the Commanders are an interesting team, and it'll
They
be
really
interesting to see how they develop. I think they need a couple more weapons for him because let's be honest, Terry McLaurin's fine, but he's not like a stud receiver. He's not like a CD Lamb or like a Justin Jefferson, which I don't know if they'll ever get someone like that. They could just get a couple decent like other receivers to like he's throwing to Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is like 36 years old. Let's get some young blood in there.
Yeah, you want to move on to the battle of the backups because that game was actually quite more entertaining. And that Rico Dowdle too, which I did trade. That's probably the one.
I also traded Rico Dowdle. I traded Rico Dowdle and who else did I trade? It was Rico Dowdle and Trey McBride and DK Metcalf, and I got Josh Jacobs, Brock Bowers, and Josh Downs, and I was like, "Yep, that's happening." But then, Rico went off, and Trey McBride's good, and DK's good, so I don't think it's as bad of a trade.
No, it still was heavily favored in your regard, and I had Josh Jacobs to start the year in that league, and I just shouldn't have traded more. I got greedy and it backfired. So
I think I've ended up with Josh Jacobs 2 or 3 times in different leagues.
I was all in on Josh Jacobs. You saw I drafted him in just about every league I was in. I drafted him.
I was that way with Malik Neighbors. I ended up with him in like every league.
Which he started out hot.
But actually, Drew Lock, when he did he get drafted by the Broncos? Was he a Broncos quarterback?
He was a Broncos quarterback.
Yeah, when he got drafted, I actually thought he would be like the next kind of franchise quarterback. And I don't know if it's that he isn't. Obviously, his talent's never shown through, but I don't know if he ever really got much development opportunity. They always expect you as a rookie to come in and just make a huge difference, which a lot of them do. But it is a lot of pressure, and not every player is just going to pick it up in the first year. That's what I was telling somebody the other day is that they expect these rookie wide receivers to come out and just, be immediate, studs. Mm-hmm. When you used to, it would just be, you would take a couple years to develop and become, I don't know. I just think there's too much pressure put on the younger players coming to the league than there used to be.
Yeah, there is. Absolutely. You are like, it used to be year 3 as a wide receiver, you would go off. That would be your year. You would try to target somebody. You would hold on to somebody if they haven't been great in Dynasty or in a fantasy league and be like, oh, they're about to pop off. It's year 3. Now they're expected from day 1 to be rock stars. Like everyone's already probably given up on Marvin Harrison Jr. And I'm sorry, I'm not ready to pull the plug on him yet.
Dude, that dude has so much talent. It's like Quentin Johnson. Which Marvin Harrison Jr. has a lot more, I think, more talent than Quentin Johnson. But Quentin Johnson has a lot of work that he has to do, and he's showing some flashes this year. But I think he's going to be one of those year 3 kind of guys where he starts breaking out in kind of year 3. He has to work on some catching. He has some other things. And Marvin Harrison Jr., like, the issue is the Cardinals just, I don't know what it is. Like, they look like a solid playoff team one game, and then the next game they just kind of disappear. I don't know what it is that they need to fix that team, but they have a lot of talent there. And, Kyler Murray is a good young quarterback. I think a lot of people hate on him for no reason, really. But to go past the Cowboys, the Cowboys won 27-20, and that was actually a closer game, which, Cooper Rush has looked pretty good the last couple of games, but CD got hurt, and I guess it wasn't super surprising that the game was close. But the one that really kind of surprised me is the Dolphins-Packers, where the Packers just kind of donkey stomped them 30-17. I thought Miami, they've been looking good since they got Tua back, and I really thought they were going to try for a playoff push, but the Packers really just put it to them yesterday.
Yeah, so I was not surprised by that. Jordan Love is a amazing quarterback. Setting behind Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur, all that whole development piece. The Packers are a real team. They destroyed the Cowboys. I remember being at the league at the casino watching that with some of my buddies who are diehard Cowboys fans.
That was really fun to watch, though.
I felt really bad for them because like I said on the last pod, I'm consistent. I do kind of root for the Cowboys. Obviously, I'm a Denver Broncos fan through and through. I bleed orange, so. But I'd like to see them do well. It's been, 20 years since they've done anything.
The problem is Jerry Jones. They're not going to be successful until Jerry Jones gives up being GM.
Hey, I don't disagree with that at all. I think most Cowboy fans would agree. Jerry is at the root of most of their problems.
I thought Tony Romo was the best chance they had to win, which, you can say Dez caught it all day, but I think that was the best Cowboys team that they've had. And I mean, you remember that Broncos game they had where it was him and Peyton just going at it, and it was like a crazy score, like 56-52 or something insane, which we don't really have scores like that anymore. Like we used to see Patriots, Chiefs get in the 50s and that, but we just don't see that offense. And I don't know if it's just defenses are getting better or offenses are getting worse, which we've seen a lot of injuries this year too. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's multiple things that fall into that. I mean, Miami put 70 on the Broncos last year. I regrettably watched that game. So, but yeah, I mean, scores have been a little all over the place, and this year has been one of the lowest scoring years I think ever. Right, from an offensive standpoint, it's picked up in some areas, but Green Bay's a good team. They're good on both sides of the ball. They have a decent defense. Josh Jacobs has been hell of a running back this year. They've got more wide receivers than I have Bourbon, jokingly. But, yeah, they're a good team. I think they're my X factor team in the NFC. I think they could make some noise. I think they could give. If you look at how they played last year, they almost beat Detroit. That was probably the best game of the playoffs.
And then Detroit almost beat San Francisco. We could have seen Detroit in the Super Bowl last year.
Yep.
And for somehow
no, they blew that game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I may be misrepresenting that game a little bit. They knew to beat the brakes off Cowboys. I know it was a pretty close game with Detroit. I'd have to go back and look at the score, but they're a good team. So
do you want to talk about the league's luckiest team?
Yeah, and in the division with my Broncos, absolutely. The Chiefs did defeat the Raiders. The Raiders gave their best effort, but good God. It's like, can the earth and the stars align for the Chiefs to win? Like, whether it's a blocked field goal, a muffed punt, a missed field goal, a timeout.
Yeah, they beat the Broncos. Like, the Broncos had a really good position to kick a game-winning field goal, and it gets blocked. Sure. And then now the same thing comes up with the Raiders, and it's a botched snap. And I'm just like, how does this stuff keep happening? Like, does Andy Reid have a voodoo doll on the sideline with his cheeseburgers? And she's like, no, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. You're going to mess up. Like, there has to be something going on that just like is just out of this world. It's just out of this world crazy how just lucky they've gotten this year.
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane. The calls that they've gotten, which is getting a lot. There's a lot of memes, a lot of speculation out there. It's the script. You've heard the infamous, it's the NFL script, Roger Goodell's plan. Yes, they have probably the greatest quarterback on the planet. Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal. I mean, but talent-wise, like I don't put Jordan Love pretty close up there. I'm not saying he's better than Patrick Mahomes. Please don't get your pitchforks out and stakes. But they keep getting lucky. Like if you're watching those games, and if you're not a Chiefs fan, you're probably not watching the Chiefs because you're tired of them winning. Because
it's just kind of like when the Patriots were winning, people had a lot of hate for them.
Yeah, absolutely,
and stuff.
And they had the GOAT, Tom Brady, as much as that hurts to say that. I was a huge Peyton Manning fan, but
I do love Peyton Manning, and I think Peyton Manning could have easily gotten there with the right team. I think it took a while for the Colts, and then if he was with that Broncos team for 10 years, I think he could easily won 4 or 5 championships.
The Ravens robbed us. Peyton or Peyton?
Peyton Manning.
That commercial comes on the ads all the time.
Oh, I guess I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen the commercial? I'll have to show it to you.
Dude, Peyton Manning has some of the best stuff. That Saturday Night Live sketch where he has like the kids and he's like, get open. And he hits the kids with footballs and stuff.
Oh, dude. I love that one. That one's hilarious. Yeah. No, Peyton Manning's fun. He does have a very large forehead, but he has all that football knowledge hanging out in there.
It's all the Omaha. All the Omahas up there.
Cornbread.
One of these episodes, we're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs because I think it's pretty interesting what they're doing this year. And college football in general has been pretty interesting. So we'll talk about that more coming up probably in the next episode or two because we'll have a pretty clear indication of what the playoffs will look like after this week. So then we can kind of give our predictions and, the surprises and things like that. But one thing I wanted to talk about in sports before we go to the next segment is I want to talk a little bit about the NHL, which do you have a team in the NHL? Hockey team?
Yeah, Dallas Stars. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Go
Cool.
Stars.
Dallas Stars.
Woo!
Yeah, woo. Which the Stars have kind of had an up and down season this year, which we won tonight, which was great. But we have looked kind of gross the last few games. So, but one thing I wanted to say is I wanted to talk about Alex Ovechkin, which if you don't pay attention to hockey, I know this name you will know is Wayne Gretzky. And he is chasing Wayne Gretzky right now. Unfortunately, I think he broke his leg or hurt his leg really bad, and he's out for a while. But he's only 27 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL record.
That's insane.
Which is, it's nuts. And actually, if he wouldn't have hurt his leg, he would have been on pace to do it in less games.
That's crazy.
But he's on the verge of becoming the NHL's all-time goals leader, and he can pass Wayne Gretzky's mark of 894 during the 2024-2025 regular season. The Capitals standout currently has 868 career goals, so needs 27 more goals this season in order to top Gretzky's record. Now, like I said, that would have been insane if he could have done it in less games because that would have really been definitive. But unfortunately, right whenever I think it was almost bad luck and almost jinxed it because whenever they started talking about it, that next day is whenever he hurt his leg. So hopefully he heals up and he breaks that record. I think that would be nuts because people thought that was an unbreakable record, honestly.
Yeah, that's like John Stockton's assist record, right? He has the most assists of all time. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever going to touch that record.
Dude, that dude was a passing machine.
Yeah.
I would have to look at the statistics between him and Steve Nash because Steve Nash also had quite a few assists.
I believe Steve Nash is like in the top 5, but we'll have to look out. We'll look at that later. And
we'll talk about NBA at some point. Even though I'm not the biggest NBA fan these days, I do root for the Thunder, and Cody loves the Mavericks.
The Mavericks keep winning without
Luka. I saw that they were like they had like a worse record with Luka on the court than they did without Luka, which is kind of nuts.
Najee Marshall is the truth.
He had a couple 30-point or 40-point games or something.
He's averaging like 23 points in the last. He's been phenomenal. Like, if you like the Mavs, you should check out Locked On Mavs. They have a really good podcast. Big fan of theirs. Shout out to them. But the Mavs look good without Luka, and I'm excited when Luka gets back. Yes, Luka is probably the most hated NBA player, it seems that these days, for his complaining.
Can you be more of a hated than LeBron James gets?
Well,
LeBron
James and hanging out at P. Diddy parties, but we won't go there. But I just did. So, mic drop. But yeah, no, Luka's amazing. He's one of the best players in the world, whether you agree or not. I've watched a lot of Mav games. I'll continue to watch a lot of Mav games. But I'm really excited about our team this year. I think we have a shot to go back to the finals. I think we're better than we were last year. Quentin Grimes is becoming a defensive player. I think Lively, which is and Gafford are one of the best 1-2 punches from a center in the league. I mean,
just wait till we get our boy Chet back. It'll be Chet and Hartenson. Man, we haven't got to see those two together because Hartenson was out at the beginning of the year, and then Chet gets hurt, and then now we got Hartenson back. We've won the last 3 games since Hartenson has came back, but I thought, honestly, I'm really excited for the Thunder. You guys actually have to go through the Thunder to get to the finals. So
I know.
Hopefully we can play again because I think the Thunder look out of this world this year. It's really exciting to see them. I think SGA is great. If we can get Chet back and healthy before the playoffs, I think him and Hartenson will be one of the hardest, big duos to stop because Chet's like he's 7'3", and then Hartenson's 7 foot and just a beast down low. But I think the NBA will be really fun once the playoffs come around and LeBron James gets eliminated.
Yeah. The Thunder are scary as hell. I'm not going to lie. They're the team that terrifies me. But I think if there's any team in the NBA that is built to beat the Thunder, it is the Mavs. So, yes, we will have to go through you guys. I hope it's the Western Conference Championship.
Yeah, it just depends on how the Mavericks finish. Because right now, it's I believe we're first in the West, if I'm not mistaken. We've only lost a few games.
Yeah, you still without your centers, you still have done very well.
I'll tell you who I'm really surprised about is Cleveland.
Yeah.
They were undefeated for a long time, and then they went to Boston and finally lost their first game. They're 17-3. Yeah, the Thunder. We are 14-4. You know who's number 2 in the West?
Not Denver.
The Houston Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets are young and they're good. They have a good coach. I mean, they beat us this year with a Luka. The Rockets are a team to keep an eye on.
You guys better pick it up, though, because you guys are the 7 seed right now. I really don't want to see you guys in the first round.
No, we won't be 7 seed. We've had tons of injuries. Lively was out for a while. PJ Washington was out. We've got a ton of new pieces. So like people like the Mavs. I'm in some Mavs groups, and there's some of the biggest haters in the world in that group. And
they've only played 19 games. They're still 60 something to go.
Look at last year. We had the best record going into I think after the All-Star break. Yeah. We had one of the best defenses in the league. So the Mavs are a playoff team. Let's get that real clear. I don't know how they're necessarily built for the regular season, but I'm excited. I think the team's really good. Kyrie's playing out of his mind. He's still one of the best players in the world. I don't care. Uncle Drew, he's amazing. He's one of the best clutch players in the fourth quarter. He keeps getting it done. So, but I can talk about the Mavs all day long. So we need to move on.
So our next segment is Pop Culture Poor, which is our entertainment segment. I actually came up with that, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I like the name.
Yeah, I think the name works. But with Thanksgiving coming up, I actually saw an interesting thing. It was like there's not a lot of good Thanksgiving movies out there, but one that I actually really love, and I could probably watch every Thanksgiving, and I actually showed it to my wife not long ago, is Son-in-Law. You know Son-in-Law? You know Pauly Shore?
I definitely do Pauly Shore. If you were a 90s kid, you know all about Pauly Shore. Pauly Shore was like the man back in the day.
Oh, he was in those Steven Tyler PJs. Steven Tyler PJs.
Yep.
Steven Tyler PJs. And I was like, yeah, there's nothing like bringing your fake boyfriend home to meet the family during Thanksgiving because you don't want to deal with issues of your cheating current boyfriend.
How many fake boyfriends have you had?
How many fake boyfriends have I had?
I'm just checking.
That's none of your business, sir.
How dare you talk to me like
but
that?
There's nothing like bringing your fake boyfriend home to the family on the farm, and he's just like the complete opposite of like what you would expect. So,
yeah.
Pauly Shore is great. I love Pauly Shore. He has so many great movies, and I actually got to meet him, and he signed my Son-in-Law and my In the Army Now DVDs. So those are really cool.
Yeah, I will say that and I do like Pauly Shore. You can't not like the guy, but going back and watch some of his movies, some of them are very challenging to watch.
Like which ones?
I'm not even
like Biodome.
Biodome's a great example.
Save the mahi mahi. Save the mahi mahi. I love Biodome.
Yeah, it used to be a lot better. I don't know. Maybe I just changed. My humor's changed. I'm a Chris Farley guy, to be fair.
I mean, it's hard to hate on Chris Farley, and I mean, it would have been interesting to see because I'm not a fan of Kevin James, but I can tell that Adam Sandler puts Kevin James in his movie in the Chris Farley spot. I'm like, man,
yeah,
you should be Chris Farley.
Kevin James is not Chris Farley. Let's be crystal clear about that. But
no, I don't think anyone would think that he is.
I quote movies like humor, right, and try to say Tommy want wingy, but a lot of it's funny because a lot of the younger kids
want extra pillow.
Oh, he plays for one of the Yankees. What's his name? Buddy Wackett? No, but younger kids these days are like, what the heck is this guy talking about?
Who is Chris Farley?
Yeah, who's Chris Farley?
Living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, Nick Foley. Oh God, those are like watching David Spade and is it Christina Applegate or whatever her name is?
Oh yeah,
yeah, they're cracking. They cannot stop laughing on some of the skits.
Dude, those SNL that is peak SNL.
Absolutely.
Just those Chris Farley days with Adam Sandler and Chris Kattan. The Chris Kattan, Will Ferrell days are great too. But
yeah,
man,
yeah, Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live. It is very hard to beat that. So, yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is in the music scene. I know that you're a pretty big Linkin Park fan. So I want to get your take on what you think of Emily Armstrong taking the Chester Bennington role. And do you feel like they went about that the right way?
I think they are doing things correctly. I'm going to be crystal clear with everyone. There is no replacement for Chester.
I don't think anyone would disagree with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not. There's never going to be a replacement for him. One of my biggest regrets is not going to watch Linkin Park live. I had so many opportunities, like, oh, I'll do it later down. So please, if you have something you want to do, like start a podcast, travel to a country you've never been, drink a bourbon you've never had, do it. That's what I would say 2025 is going to be. Just do it, and don't let anybody stop you. We're our biggest antagonist, or like roadblocks at times. A lot of times we're just like, oh, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that, and I'm the same way. That's human nature, right? But if you want to do it. Just make it happen.
I mean, I want to add on to that because I go to cons a lot. So I love to go to Texas Frightmare Weekend and Fan Expo and a lot of those other cons to meet celebrities. And I can't stress this enough, that if you have an opportunity to meet, somebody that you really want to meet, don't just say, I'll meet them next time. Because I actually, Jason David Frank was a good one. I went and I got to meet him. And then, not long after that, he, passed away. Tony Todd just recently passed away. I got to meet him at Texas Frightmare Weekend. So if you ever say, oh, hey, another good one, Danielle got to meet Stan Lee. And I was like, I never got to meet Stan Lee.
I never got to meet him either.
And
that's awesome.
I think, I think Mark Hamill is at that one. I don't know if Mark Hamill ever come to Texas anymore or not, but if he ever comes, I'd love to meet him. But you just never know. You never know what's going to happen to somebody. So if you ever have the opportunity to meet somebody, make sure you do it. And I really stress that to Danielle a lot. If you ever have the opportunity to meet someone, just do it, because there might not be a next time.
Yeah, I feel like we're a Nike commercial right now, but
just do it. And I'm like Shia LaBeouf, like, do it.
They're not a sponsor, but yeah. See, I didn't say that 15 times this episode.
It's coming. So back to Linkin Park, though.
Yeah, they're good. She's good. She's talented. I think they've got a good sound. I haven't listened to all their new albums. I've listened to a few songs. It's taken me a little bit to get over the whole, like, it's kind of like being broken up with, right?
And I think that was 2018 or so. So it's been 6 years, which still doesn't feel like long enough, kind of, but at the same time, it's like it makes sense that they came back.
Yeah, I mean, they're talented across the board, so why not? So it's good. I don't know if I'll go to their concert per se. We'll see. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, I mean, I've enjoyed what I've heard so far. So yeah,
and I've listened to their whole album, and a lot of it's really good. Some of it's going to take some getting used to, but it does have a very Hybrid Theory kind of feel. Like very old and raw, kind of those raw emotions. And Emily does a good job on their newer songs, but on some of their older songs where I feel like she's just trying to be Chester too much, and she just needs to kind of do her own thing. And like, you just can't do that. Like, they had another female kind of singing in the studio. I can't remember her name, but she kind of made it her own thing, and she made them sound really, really good. And if she could do some of the stuff, like something similar to her, I think that they'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So I want to talk about, this will be a controversial topic, but Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah. So it was a post.
Last night we let the liquor talk.
I do. Okay. So I don't dislike Morgan Wallen. I want to be crystal clear about that, but I'm not like his biggest fan. I think he has some good catchy songs. I like his voice. I did not realize he was on The Voice.
I didn't either.
Yeah, there's a clip. If you haven't seen it, you should go look it up. It's really interesting. He's like a young kid. He loves his mama and his grandma. It made me feel right at home. He's a country boy. But he won Entertainer of the Year. So, which I know you said a name earlier who should have got that.
Honestly, so I really like Jelly Roll as far as country music goes. And I actually think Post Malone released one of the best country albums, like total albums, in a long time, because he got all these people like Hank Jr., Jelly Roll. He actually had Morgan Wallen on a song, but I don't know. I feel like going from a different genre and just immediately going in and doing really well in another genre. Like I feel like that says something about your artistry. And so, no disrespect to Morgan Wallen, he's fine. I'm not a big Morgan Wallen fan, but I feel like Post Malone did a lot of stuff for country music, and he did it the right way, and it's very good. And I actually me and Danielle got tickets to see Jelly Roll and Post Malone next year, so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, so Morgan Wallen won Entertainer of the Year. Congratulations to him. Male Vocalist of the Year is Chris Stapleton. So
Yeah, I actually saw a video on that, and I think that was really well deserved.
absolutely. I'm just gonna profess my love for Chris Stapleton for a second. I've seen him in concert twice, 3 times.
He loves Traveler's Whiskey.
I saw the funniest meme. It was, I think did I send it to you? It had,
Oh
like,
yeah, you sent it to
the
me. And it was like
Buffalo
the Blanton.
Trace.
It was
Yeah.
Blanton's yelling at.
Yeah,
You're
Traveler.
not part of this family.
Yeah, get out. It's funny if you haven't seen that. It has like all the different Buffalo Trace products, and then Traveler is
It's a
like,
Canadian whiskey.
yeah, it's a Canadian whiskey, and my fiance actually likes it. But it's the most. It's like drinking air. If you want to drink air, then go buy Traveler. And no offense to Chris Stapleton, because I love Chris Stapleton. He is a songbird of our generation.
But the thing about Chris Stapleton though is he doesn't even drink. So it's like, how do you come up with the blend for Chris Stapleton if he doesn't drink?
Yeah, if you don't drink, that's exactly the whiskey you'd make.
It
Something that
probably
tastes
would
like
taste.
air.
It probably would taste better if he was actually a drinker and like actually cared. But it almost seems like a cash grab in a way. But
Yeah. And he got Song of the Year too, White Horse, which is my fiance's favorite. I love that. That song's great. So if you haven't seen Chris Stapleton live, go watch it. I swear that dude is better live than he is on a record, and he sounds great on both. But yeah, he's really good. So
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about some health. I know that you want to talk about some health. So talk to us about some green tea. This is the neat and balanced segment.
yeah, so a neat and balanced segment, and I'd like to hear from you. So I do care a lot about my health. I'm definitely getting up there on age. I work out. I like to eat better.
I work out.
I work out. So I've been doing a little bit of research. I watch a guy, Thomas De La Flore. You should look him up. He backs everything up by history. He's a really good. He's on YouTube. Super phenomenal. Very big fan. He's a big faster guy. I do intermittent fasting as well. And we're looking to have a pod that I'd like to have Alex Shaw on, an English guy I met at the Willet Drop.
That dude is jacked.
Yeah, he's pretty nice. He's
Jacked for a little guy.
Yeah, he's a little guy, but he does a whiskey health program. It's really interesting. If you're looking to get in shape, you should follow him, check him out. This is free advertising for you, Alex. So just throwing it out there. But yeah. So, anyways, green tea. I was doing some research, and there was I'll credit to Thomas De La Flore for this, but they were showing different diets, like the Mediterranean diet, the paleo diet. It was like 3 different diets, and they were doing a study on visceral fat, and they were showing that with the addition of green tea, and it was some kind of duckweed grass that they were doing, but basically anything that has high content of phenols. It was helping like 3 times the amount in reduction of visceral fat. So I've been actually drinking more green tea. I will say personally, and maybe it's a placebo effect, I don't really think it is because I've been eating poorly. Obviously Thanksgiving, I typically gain 100 pounds. I have not done that. This is the post-mortem of Thanksgiving. But I feel myself not as bloated. I mean, so far it's been good.
Yeah, I've been having a couple cups of green tea myself, other than the 2 days for Thanksgiving and the day before because I ran out and Walmart was closed. But I had some today, and it does make me feel better. If that makes like I don't feel as like gassy or bloated. Like so, yeah. I also feel that way. I don't think it's a placebo effect because I don't know. You just kind of feel better. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I really do. I really do believe the green tea helps, and I think it's really something worth trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like kind of like drinking coffee.
No, definitely not. And then I'd really like to expand off of this segment. I enjoy reading, learning. if you want to hear more about health, you're like, well, you drink bourbon, how can you be healthy? I mean, that's
Funny that you bring that up
yeah.
because I actually do have some health benefits of bourbon that I've looked up.
That was almost like it was planned, but it really wasn't because I forgot you had those.
And Google it's on Google, so it has to be right. But no, actually, bourbon whiskey does have, like, obviously in a decent amount of, amount that you drink, you don't want to overdo it, or you'll mess up your liver. But there are a few things that bourbon is good for your health. So bourbon contains antioxidants that can help eliminate free radicals and keep your immune system healthy. So it has some good antioxidants. So it's actually has ellagic acid. That's in bourbon and can help regulate blood sugar levels. So that's pretty interesting. Bourbon can increase levels of good cholesterol and prevent the buildup of bad cholesterol. It says that it's good for brain health, but my memory is still really bad. So I'm hoping that maybe that'll catch up. But it says moderate alcohol consumption may help protect against brain disorders like dementia. Moderate alcohol consumption may reduce the risk of heart disease. Moderate alcohol consumption may improve immunity in response to vaccines, which, I already feel like I have a pretty good immune system, so I don't know if I would ever notice the effects of that personally. Moderate alcohol consumption may reduce uric acid levels, which are a risk factor of gout. I have also read that bourbon can help prevent certain types of cancer. So in the end, bourbon has some health effects in moderation. Drink responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't drink and drive. We've said that before. We'll continue to say that. Yeah, no. So I mean, and you talk about we were talking about the topic. Can you be healthy and drink bourbon? If you're drinking every day, probably not. If you're having one glass of bourbon, it's possible. I would, I've reduced my drinking quite a bit over the years. I do enjoy bourbon. I'm a social drinker, but in general, when I'm my workout days, I don't like to drink.
But I look at it like the same as in Italy, where they're drinking a glass of wine for dinner. It's good if you have a couple ounces. I think I read that for men, it's good if you have just a couple drinks, which I would assume is 4 ounces. Mm-hmm. Women is more like 1. So it kind of just depends. If you're drinking stuff like wine and things like that, that has a lot more sugars and stuff. So that's not quite as good for you. Whereas bourbon is just corn, all these stuff, and it's getting all the flavors from the barrel. So it's not like just adding a buttload of sugar into your product.
Yeah. It still has alcohol, though, so you got to take that in consideration. That has different effects on people's bodies. But in general, I mean, I haven't seen a major impact drinking bourbon, with fasting and dieting and stuff like that. I think it's all about diet, a lot of it, and having it's about consistency, holding yourself accountable. But we'll get more into that. So if you want to hear more health benefits, more recipes, meal prepping, all the different things that go into becoming healthy, especially as we get to the new year, because I know you guys love changing yourself, transforming for the new year.
Yeah, so if you want a month's worth of, health stuff, because we know that's how long you're going to commit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm planning to get married next year, so May 29th. So, yay, go me.
I'll be there.
Yep, you will be there, and we're actually getting married in Mexico. I'm really excited.
You guys ever been to Mexico?
You boys like Mexico? So my goal is to be in the best shape of my life when I walk down the beach and grab my fiance's hand and finally tie the knot after 12 years. Yeah, and it's been a long time. So
with sand in between your toes and bourbon on your belly and.
Yeah, it reminds
Pappy
me of
Van Winkle cigar.
Oh, well, I hope we'll be drinking a special bourbon too on that. So
yeah, I'm interested to see. Have you ever done the all-inclusive stuff down there?
Yeah, I've done it multiple times. We've actually stayed at this resort.
Do they have cool stuff, as far as bourbons and stuff go?
No, they don't have cool bourbons at all. But I'm going to bring something special, so we'll have some bourbon to drink.
I like special bourbon.
Yeah, but now it's getting to that time where
it's a last call with the bourbon nerds.
That was terrible, but Yeah, last call on Bourbon Nerds. I want to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. I hope, one, I'm thankful. If you are listening to this pod, I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be recording episode 2. And I had a phenomenal time with my family on Thanksgiving. I know you had to actually, unfortunately, work.
I still got to eat and stuff, and I still got to have my aunt's broccoli casserole.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited about that. And I got to take some up. Actually, I have some in the fridge that I might go eat after this.
Yeah,
and just dominate it.
So I'm going to drop some knowledge on you guys real quick. So well, first off, I made a lot of old fashions. And I did not use an expensive whiskey. I used Old Granddad 114, and people were drinking and I made my own simple syrup. So if you go buy simple syrup, stop doing that.
I don't know. I'm pretty lazy myself.
Well, stop being lazy. And I use light brown sugar, which is great. I know some people, I've actually seen some recent old fashioned posts on TikTok and stuff. They're using maple syrup, but
maple syrup for simple syrup?
It's a cup. Hold on. The recipe to make brown sugar or simple syrup is super easy. It's 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of water, and then I put it in a water bottle, an empty water bottle.
Oh no, I know what the simple. But you said they use maple syrup.
Yeah, like real maple syrup, and replace the simple syrup.
That seems way
maple
worse.
Fashion.
Maple fashion. Yeah, I guess I've had that before.
Yeah, I mean, it to each of their own, right?
Yeah, no, I guess that's not that weird.
So
it just sounded weird at first.
Yeah, I was like, I was kind of like a bartender, but
Did you make a lot of tips?
No, I made 0 tips.
Well, then you're not a good bartender.
No, I'm a terrible bartender, but I made sweet potato casserole, and you're gonna try it before you leave my house.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't forget.
I love food.
So my cousin Evan, he actually ate 5 helpings of it. He was like, "Dude, I can't stop. I know." And he's tight, dude. He's one of the skinniest guys you'd ever meet.
That reminds me of my cousin. Growing up, she would like basically eat a whole tray of the dinner rolls during Thanksgiving. It's like, all right, here's everyone's dinner rolls. Here's Amanda's.
Yeah.
And actually that's kind of how it is with when my Aunt Donna makes the apple pie that is delicious. She makes an apple pie for Thanksgiving, and she makes an apple pie for Garrett, which luckily she didn't do that this year because Garrett doesn't need a whole apple pie at his house.
If you like apple pie, you should try Green River Wheated. It tastes like an apple pie.
Also, Blanton straight from the barrel tastes a lot like apple pie.
Yeah, it's a little stronger. It's good. It's
apple pills.
By far the best Blantons, and it's not because it's a cliche or I want you to drink Blantons. It's very good. It's a very good bourbon. But back to what I was saying, if you want to make something for Thanksgiving and make people happy, so real quick, and I'm going to sum this up because I know we're getting over there on time. This will be our longest podcast. It's only our 2nd episode, but still. So I made sweet potatoes. I had like 6 sweet potatoes. You peel them, cut them up. You put them in boil them till they're soft. Then you mix up some butter, brown sugar, a little bit of salt, and mix it together. And then I didn't have pecans. I forgot the pecans at the floors or at the store. So I could always have walnuts. So one of my favorite breakfasts is Greek. I love Greek yogurt. So I put Greek yogurt, a scoop of protein, blueberries, and walnuts. And sometimes I put some peanut butter, protein, granola in it. But in general, I eat that probably 3-4 times a week. A ton of protein. We were talking about 50, 60 grams. And I put a scoop of peanut butter and mix it up. So very good, very good. Highly recommend. I need to add that to the neat and balanced segment. But yeah, no, it's one of the easiest things to make, and the entire family loved it. So I was very blessed this Thanksgiving. Got to pick up my grandpa from the assisted living place, bring him and his friend, who, yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, we had a good time. I had a lot of fun. Got into the political debate with my cousins like we always do. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. Didn't take as many pictures as I would have liked to. I took pictures of my sweet potato casserole, which I sent you, and I think I posted it. But yeah, it was good. Thanksgiving is a time, it's really one of the perfect holiday. It's about bringing people together. It's about good food, good whiskey, and football. Which is some of our favorite things that we love and enjoy. So
yeah, that's kind of what we do. We kind of all stand around awkwardly until people start talking to each other, and then we make our plates, we go sit down, and we watch the football game. It's pretty basic. You know, we get to see everybody. Which I feel like this year we had a lot more than we usually have. My aunt Tina and Uncle Wes came, brought all their kids. My cousin Taylor came down with Jeff. My name is Jeff. I always say whenever I see him, but her husband Jeff, he never gets to have Thanksgiving. He's usually always working. And then, I had a lot of people there than normal, and it was, it was cool. It was good. Had good food. Got to watch football and sit around awkwardly with family members. You know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, it was funny because the Detroit game was like non-existent. And then it was like, holy cow, the Bears are within 3 points.
When I watched the non-existent part because I watched that and then I had to go to work and I'm like, this isn't going to be a freaking game anyway. And then when I'm at work, I'm like, what is going on? Of course I'm missing the best part of the game.
Oh, 100%. It was actually pretty good. And then the coach got fired. So, but so this is episode 2. We are in getting ready this weekend. We're going to record episode 3, which we're really excited about. Honestly, I just completed. I don't have the Weller Millennium. Obviously, it's like a $6,000 bottle, I think.
Plus the Daniel Weller. If we're really getting particular.
Technical. But I have all the other Wellers. I just completed it.
He completed the Infinity Stones.
I did. I can snap my fingers right now and
you're all gone.
And disintegrate the 50% of the population and go out like Tony Stark. But I don't even. Oh, but our next episode, let's get back on track. Is going to be great, and I want you guys to listen to it. I think it's going to be a really good value add. Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. He mentioned Wellers, so
yes. Weller will be involved in that pod, and
spoiler alert: it's probably not the best bourbon that will be on the pod.
Yeah, the proof will be in the name of the pod, and I'm not going to spoil that because we're really excited. And I want you to tune in because this is a bourbon that we are ecstatic about. That is around the $50 range. That is going to disrupt the market. When it starts catching on,
it already is. Like, it's really hard to find down here.
I haven't even been able to find it in the bottle. So,
but anyway, not to get too deep into what the next episode is. But so we're excited for the future. We have a few cool things coming up with potentially a raffle on the 14th, and then we have the Specs drop, which hopefully we'll get some videos and stuff for that to post out on TikTok and YouTube. So look out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're planning to do some interviews. And we will be getting a Patreon set up, so we'll be sharing that information and kind of getting we're on obviously multiple Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast,
iHeartRadio. There's a bunch I've never heard of. Like I just subscribe to, so it's pretty interesting to see how many different apps there are for podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. So look us up, comment, like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. And we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're looking forward to seeing you back. That's what this is all about. So,
I am Garrett.
I am Cody.
And we are
the Bourbon Nerds.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.